Hello everyone and welcome back to the RSS GT1 Championship by SimRacingOnline. Today we are at Road America for round 4 of this fantastic GT1 competition. We're currently in qualifying. We've got a minute elapsed and the drivers are just going out onto the track for their very first time laps. It looks as if Nathan Lockie in the Lister is about to give us the first sighting lap of the circuit. So let's watch him as he heads up the hill through the right-hander at turn 1. It's a tricky corner because it's just grass on the exit, so if you hook wheels over the outside there, it can often just suck the cars off. Now watch him through the S's as he accelerates down the hill, and you have to be careful here not to overshoot it, not to overestimate or underestimate the corners. There are some nasty sausage curbs on the outside there, but if you avoid them then everything's fine. Now up to the back end of the circuit. It looks very much like the bone sticking out of a chicken drumstick when you look at it on the map. But as you get the power down out of the corner, you now have an extremely long back straight under the bridge over a couple of crests. There are actually 2 official corners at 11 and 12 in this straight here, but they really don't feel like corners at all to the drivers. And now we head down into the chicane known as A and B, and then over the crest of the hill and through the final corner to finish the lap. Lockie getting a little bit unsettled over the top of the hill there, but as he sets the lap, the benchmark time is a 1:19.542, which immediately gets beaten by Davide Ricciardi doing a 1:18.438. So Ricciardi controlling the session at the minute. Talviti goes second, so at the minute it's Ricciardi from Talviti, then Lockie, Londes and Finotti. You'll recognise the name Tony Talviti. He actually won race 2 of this championship, but didn't manage to make it in for races 1 or 3. So it's a bit of a shame, but Talviti, who could have been a real title contender if he'd done the full series, has had to miss a couple of rounds. However, he's back today and already showing us that he's still got it. He's currently running second in this session and already improving his lap by a large chunk of time, just as Davide Ricciardi is doing at the front of the field in that Lamborghini. Davide Ricciardi setting the fastest first sector of anyone so far as he slipstreams his way down the back straight and passes a Celine before breaking down towards the hairpin. You'll see him doing that on the downhill section. Again, another fastest sector. That's the fastest second sector of anyone that time through. And as he finishes the lap, he's still registered as being about 0.2 of a second up on his delta time, which is incredible because this is going to be about half a second quicker than anyone in practice. Wow, 1:18.245, and that is about half a second quicker than anyone set in practice, and over 1.2 seconds quicker than Tony Talviti in this session so far. So at the minute, Ricciardi dominating the session by over 1.2 seconds from Talviti. Steph Williams has just gone third in the Ferrari. Then it's Nathan Lockie in 4th place and Laurent Lons in 5th place. So those are the top 5 in this session at the minute, although Lockie already improving, already taking chunks out of his lap time in the middle sector. Hello to everyone in the YouTube chat. Good to see you all here today. And I see Andrew Harper saying, hi Joshua, or do you prefer Josh? I actually don't mind Andrew, so you can call me either. I call myself Joshua, but others call me Josh, and it really doesn't matter. Of course, I'm your commentator, Joshua Penny. Zero Bandwidth says, I should be practicing for other races later this week, but I'm here watching this instead. Well, to be honest, I think you've made a good decision, because this is going to be a really exciting race, and you know, practicing can wait. So anyway, Joseph White says super sick actually, covered in a rash. Oh, that's a shame. Well done for your top 10 yesterday in the DTM race nonetheless, as meanwhile Nathan Lockie goes up to 2nd place, less than a second off the leader. And also hello to Andrew Williams. It's a good day for people called Andrew in this chat, isn't it? You've got Andrew and Andrew there. And yeah, make sure you do leave comments in the YouTube chat, as you're already doing, as the session goes on, and I will make sure to read out the interesting one. Back to the session. I've just seen an improvement in third place. Yusuf Masset has gone up with a 1:19.275. Henri Miettinen, who's new to the league, goes second. So Henri Miettinen, who hasn't driven the GT1 car in this league before, is now second in the order with a 1:18.904. Just the second driver to get into the 1:18s in this session, and well, still almost 7/10 of a second off Davide Ricciardi, but he's the closest driver to him out of this whole field so far. Everyone else struggling a bit to keep up with the flying Lamborghini at the minute, and this could technically be a championship decider, because I see that we have 18 drivers here. If Ricciardi wins this race and Van der Geest finishes in 18th place, and that will knock Van der Geest out of contention. And then I think you'd also need Finotti, Masset. Yeah, I think you'd also need Finotti and Masset to finish effectively 17th and 16th, or around about that area. So it's extremely unlikely that Ricciardi will claim the championship today, and really we won't be talking about that much, but it is possible, so it's something to keep an eye on, as Yusuf Masset does improve his time there to go back up to third place ahead of Nathan Lockie. Masset's time now a 1:19.213 as he resumes his quest to be the third driver under 1:19 in terms of the lap times in this session so far. I'm noticing laps coming in from Pablo Finotti as he goes onto the grass. Well, that was going to be a big improvement, but he's now in the gravel, so there's not going to be any improvement from Finotti just today. Finotti actually third in the championship, so it's a bit disappointing to only see him 9th in the order. Wow, look at Tony Talviti go in the first sector. That's a purple sector, being the fastest sector of anyone. He's bounced over the grass a little bit on the exit of the top of the course there, on the entry to the long straight, but still a very long way up on his delta time, and I think this is going to be one of the fastest second sector times as well. He was almost a second up on his best time just a couple of corners ago. Now into the chicane. Vaseline looking very, very balanced today. And over the crest of the hill, Yusuf Masset now goes up back to second place with 1:18.701. What can Talviti do? He demutes him, goes to 1:18.401. That's second place, less than 2/10 off Davide Ricciardi. However, Talviti did have a bounce over the gravel, or over the grass rather, on the entry to the straight. If he hadn't done that, that may well have been pole. So definitely still in contention for that. And will he be able to launch another attack at that pole position as the session goes on? We'll have to see. So he's actually not going to be going any quicker on this lap. He's backed out of it, and either he'll be heading back to the pits, or he'll be setting up for another lap this time around. So yeah, 18 drivers here on the Road America circuit. A couple of drivers I don't recognise here. I don't think Kimi Martikainen has driven any rounds of this championship so far. I'll just double check that. No, Kimi Martikainen is new, as is another Finnish driver near the back of this field at the minute, Jari Laakkonen. So Laakkonen and Martikainen both new to this particular championship. And good to see them here. They're two of three Finnish drivers here, along with Tony Talviti, who has just launched another attack at pole position. He's just started another flying lap. I'm interested in Laurent Lons as well. He looks as if he's about to jump a position. Yeah, he was 7th, he goes 6th. So Lons now gets himself within a second of the leader. Not many drivers properly close to the leader though. We've got Ricciardi on a 1:18.2, and then only Talviti and Masset within half a second of Ricciardi's time so far. But still, over 4 minutes of this session left for things to change. Talviti, meanwhile, has backed out of his lap, so this will not be an improvement from the Saleen driver just this time around. And he'll have to set up for another attack later on in this lap. Andrew Williams says Henri not here despite topping the server lap time. So I wonder if that means, I think he's talking about Henri Miettinen. I wonder if that means that Miettinen tops the server practice times and he just hasn't seen that he's here, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Whatever the case, Miettinen's actually going for a spin as we speak, or a half spin rather. He recovers that, and now we'll probably either head back to the pits or set up for another lap if his tyres will allow it. Davide Ricciardi, going into the gravel. He was, I think, going for another quick lap, but he's in the gravel at the top of the hill. And he's going to have to go for another attempt as well. Further down the order as well, we've got a couple of drivers attempting to improve their laps, but not many drivers really on flyers. Kimi Martikainen's about to go up about a second on his best. He's currently 17th. Does this put him into 16th? It's looking close. And yes, he does indeed go to 16th place, jumping Rob Milliken in all of that. And that puts him 16th out of 18 drivers in this session so far. Further up the order, Henri Miettinen had started another flying lap, but he's had a run through the grass as well. We're in a little bit of a quiet period at the minute, but I'm sure we're about to see the track roar with action again, as we have just over 2 minutes of this session remaining. Drivers will be starting their final flying laps very, very shortly in one more last gasp attempt at pole. One driver I've barely mentioned so far today is second in the championship, John van der Geest, because he is only 11th in qualifying at the minute. So really not showing the pace that he has done in previous sessions. And I wonder whether he's either just not been able to hook a lap together, or whether he's really struggling at this track, because he's just crossed the line again and not gone any quicker. So that's a bit curious there from Van der Geest, and he's had to back off. That's going to be it, I expect, from Van der Geest. Unless he can get out of the pits and get onto a lap quick enough, that might well be it from John Van der Geest in this session, which will be his worst qualifying of the season by a very, very long way. And that'd be a bit of a disaster from John Van der Geest here, as Kimi Martikainen improves his lap again slightly but stays 16th place. Finotti as well. Wow, it's not a good day for the championship contenders, because although Davide Ricciardi is first place, Pablo Finotti is only 10th at the minute, and John Van der Geest is only 11th. However, Finotti has found 4 tenths, and if he sets this, he'll be challenging for the top 5. He's got a little bit of traffic coming up ahead of him, heading into the pits there. That was actually Davide Ricciardi himself. But as Finotti crosses the line, he does move up to 5th. That's an important jump from Pablo Finotti there. Incidentally, Van der Geest is still in the pit, so he will be starting from a best possible position of 11th place. Might even drop further. Right, who's still challenging for this? Talviti is, Miettinen is, and I think Brown is the only other driver who looks as if they're going to improve towards the end of this session. Maybe Nathan Lockie. Couple of drivers here. Henri Miettinen's lap looking good, but gets a little bit squirrely in the chicane. Needs to pull something out, but he's tagged the grass, so this is not going to be an improvement for Miettinen, who now spins and goes very fast into the barrier, so that's a hard hit. And that's it for Henri Miettinen in this session. He will not be improving any further. What about Phil Brown? Brown drove a fantastic race last time out, would have finished second if he hadn't disconnected, and now moves up into 5th position as the checkered flag comes out. Ricciardi is not on a lap, neither is Talviti, Masset, Miettinen or Brown. So that means the top of the order is effectively confirmed now. Pablo Finotti has backed out of his lap as well, so that's his position confirmed. Nathan Lockie will be 7th. And to be honest, I don't see anyone else in this field who's going to improve, because Lauren Lons appears to have made a mistake in the second sector. So I believe that's going to be it in terms of the grid. It's going to be Davide Ricciardi starting from pole position, and he's in a fantastic position there, seeing as his nearest championship rival is Finotti in 6th position, I expect. Or, well, that is unless you count Yusuf Masset, 4th in the championship, and 3rd on the road. So it's Ricciardi first, Talviti 2nd, Masset 3rd, and then Miettinen, Brown, Finotti, Lockie, Lons, and then Williams, and Assetto in 10th position. Van der Geest only 11th. Then Gutierrez, Uusel, Rodriguez, Kruger, Martikainen, Milliken and Laakkonen. So 18 drivers. That's how they're going to line up on the grid in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. And it is indeed a pole position for Redline and Davide Ricciardi. Welcome back, everyone. We have just under 2 minutes now until the start of the race. As a reminder, this is a potential championship deciding race. If Davide Ricciardi is going to wrap it up today, he needs effectively a miracle to happen. He needs, I believe he needs John Van der Geest rather, to finish in 18th position. Finotti, I think, to finish. Yeah, he needs to finish right near the back as well. So effectively, this is not a championship deciding race at all, because Van der Geest, Finotti, Masset, they're all still in contention. In fact, looking at the order, it's the top 5 who are mathematically still in contention. Ricciardi, Van der Geest, Finotti, Masset and Lons. Lons being very much the outside shot, I'm afraid. But still, everyone preparing for the start. They're going to give it their all. And to run through the grid order again, as we have less than a minute until the lights go out, it's Davide Ricciardi starting from pole position in the Lamborghini, one of 5 different types of cars we have on the grid here today. Another is the Celine with Tony Talviti in 2nd, Chrysler 3rd with Yusuf Masset, Ferrari 4th with Henri Mattinen, also 5th with Phil Brown, and then Finotti, Celine, Lockie, and that's a Lister. Lons, Lister, Williams, Ferrari, Assetto, Lister, Van der Geest, Lister, Gutierrez, Lister, and I believe that last time Gutierrez was in a Chrysler, so that's changed. Uusel, Chrysler, Rodriguez appears to not have made it in, so we may have lost one. Kruger, Ferrari, Martikainen, Celine, Milliken, Lamborghini, and Laakkonen, Chrysler. Watch the lights. When they go out, we will be underway. Now, go! Away we go, and the race has begun. And look at the front of the field as Tony Talviti gets a very bad start. So Talviti is dropping back. Yusuf Masset is already up to 2nd. Ricciardi is going to lead into turn 1, and that's Phil Brown, Henri Mattinen rather, Miettinen rather, going through into 3rd place and challenging for 2nd on the inside of Masset, goes through. So Miettinen through to 2nd, Masset down to 3rd, and has everyone made it through the opening couple of corners safely? I believe they have done. So a clean start, and it's currently Ricciardi leading from Miettinen in 2nd, but Ricciardi's got a bad exit. Watch Miettinen now as he gets a really good exit. They're side by side heading up to the top of the hill, and around the outside goes the Ferrari of Henri Miettinen. They're still neck and neck into the 2nd apex, and oh, there we go. Ricciardi gives him room, and it looks as if Miettinen is going to lead. So Miettinen has taken the lead, but Ricciardi, with the power of the V12 Lamborghini, is coming right back at him down the straight line. It looks as if Miettinen is going to have to slot straight back into the slipstream here, which he does do. And now watch him trying to line up Ricciardi, who goes wide, and through goes Miettinen. Miettinen takes the lead in the chicane, and watch Masset as well. Masset already challenging, and we'll see what the order is as we head through this time around. It's going to be Miettinen leading from Ricciardi, Masset, Talviti, Brown, Finotti, Lockie, Lons, Williams, Van der Geest up to 10th. Then it's Kruger, Laakkonen, Milliken, Uusel, Ashenko's in the wall, and then it's going to be Johnny Gutierrez and Kimi Martikainen. 17 drivers, they've all made it through after the opening lap. Oh, and Masset's off. Masset went off in the S's, and I didn't see how that happened, but that puts Tony Talviti up into 3rd place now. So Masset's had an off, and I'll update you on where he's dropped down to after this lap. But he's dropped down through the order, I'm afraid. He's actually dropped down to about 9th or 10th here, and that's big disappointment there for Yusuf Massett. Go ahead.
Massett dropped to 9th now. It was 3rd.
Massett dropped to 9th, as we hear from our cameraman, Matheus Marçal. Sorry, I forgot to introduce you there, Matheus. Yeah, Matheus very thankfully doing the cameras for us here today, and delivering you with the TV cameras that you're seeing. I'm your commentator as well, Joshua Penny. Now after this lap, let's see what the order is after the second lap of the race. Still Miettinen rather leads from Ricciardi, Talviti, Brown, and then Finotti with Lockie, Massett, Lons, Williams and Van der Geest. So indeed, Massett only actually dropped to 7th in all of that, or at least may have dropped further, but he's made up a couple of positions. He's in 7th place at the minute. I'm still interested in the lead battle, but there are more immediate fights going on behind, like Finotti versus Lockie for 5th. That's an interesting one. And then of course there's a big chain from Massett, Lons and Williams, with Van der Geest right behind them as well. Ricciardi dropped back about 7/10 in the first sector alone from Miettinen. It seems to be that the Ferrari is very strong through the S's. Admittedly, the Lamborghini gains back quite a lot on the straight as well with the massive V12 engine, but Miettinen's so quick in the corners. And this is a good situation for Ricciardi, because in terms of the championship, the guys around him aren't fighting for it. You know, Miettinen, Talviti and Brown, they've all missed races this season, and his main rival here is Finotti in 5th position, and Van der Geest in 10th. So really, he'll feel like he's leading this race, but as a racer, he always wants to go for it, and actually closed up the gap overall on that lap there. He really closed up the gap to Henri Miettinen. He's going to be with him through the S's, although we all know how fast the Ferrari is in the twistier section of the track. Go ahead.
Also, we have our first DNF. Rob Milliken just disconnected the server. I think he has connection issues or computer-related issues. We don't know.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And also, Jari Lakinen's in the pits, so we may have had an incident involving Jari Lakinen. And Rob Milliken is out. Interestingly, though, we do have Nuno Rodriguez. So Nuno obviously made it in, and he didn't start this race, but he has now begun this race about 2 laps down. And at least he's out there, and at least he's driving, even if he didn't start the race at the same time as the other drivers. Now watch Lockie and Finotti. Lockie's in the slipstream down the back straight. And what can he do about Finotti in 5th position here? He's bouncing around in the turbulent air. He's going to what will be the inside here, heading towards the chicane. He outbrakes him, and through he goes. So a good move there for Lockie, very clean. And he goes up into 5th, but he's had a big slide. And back through goes Finotti, back up into 5th place there. Lockie had the move done nicely, and had it done completely cleanly, but he's had a massive slide on the exit, just lit up the rear tyres, and around it went, and back through went Pablo Finotti, and now he's going to have to do it all over again there, as wide on the outside there went Laurent Lons. But yeah, disappointing mistake for Lockie. Meanwhile, I believe Kimi Martikainen pulled a move on Daryl Trueger on the last lap. They definitely appeared to swap. And then behind them we have Denis Shchenko and the 3 struggling cars of Lakinen, who's still in the pits and might well be out of this race. And then Rob Milliken and Nuno Rodriguez, who isn't out of the race but didn't start at the same time as the other cars for whatever reason. So as the lap continues, Nathan Lockie again catching up to the back of Pablo Finotti. He's going to have to pull his move all over again, but if he can do it once, he can do it again, so long as his tyres aren't too badly trashed. And he certainly appears to be catching him, so Finotti struggling in these early stages of the race. And incidentally, Lockie appears to be on the harder compound of tyre. so that's interesting. You'd expect Finotti to be much quicker at this point in the race, but it might well be that Finotti's having to conserve his tyres right from the start here, which is giving Lockie an advantage. I wouldn't have thought so, but that might well be the case here. Through the S's they go, the Celine being chased by the Lister. And up ahead of them as well, Tony Talviti always seems to catch Davide Ricciardi in the S's. It seems the Celine is very fast through the corners there. And in fact, that might be the next battle to worry about here, because Talviti is now less than a second behind Ricciardi. That's comfortably slipstreaming range, even if you don't really get a powerful slipstream until you're half a second behind the car in front. But we'll see as we go down the back straight. The Lamborghini is so quick, so fast rather. But Talviti has the cornering speed. As you saw demonstrated there in the S's, the Lamborghini just got almost gobbled up. Now through the final corner, what's the gap at the end of that lap? Oh, there is some time being taken out there. Talviti definitely took some time out of Ricciardi on that last lap. What about Finotti and Lockie? They're right back together again. Finotti and Lockie again, nose to tail. So we do have a couple of close battles up the front of the order here. Also close between Lons, Williams and Van der Geest. So a chain for 8th, 9th and 10th. You don't really know where to look a lot of the time here. But a good place to look would be Tony Talviti, because he's about to get behind Ricciardi onto the back straight. He needs to stick with him, and he needs to get a good slipstream, because we know that the Lamborghini is so fast in a straight line. He's going to have the advantage here, and Talviti needs to use the slipstream to stick as close to him as he can, so he can catch him again in the corners. It really is tricky though to get a good exit to the corners when the car ahead is spewing up turbulent air. Actually, Lockie's not that close to Finotti either on this lap.
Also, can you say just disconnected? You had a problem in the mid-race.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, you're right there. Canusel appears to have disconnected. The Turkish driver there, driving one of the Chryslers. He was running, I think, in 11th position, and now has dropped, I think, out of this race, and that would be our 3rd retirement. Of course, there are no official retirements in this race, and if someone like, for example, Jari Lakkinen was to decide to continue in the race, he could do, but he's well and truly out of the competitive running order anyway. So to the top of the hill, Talviti again close to the back of Ricciardi, but again, this straight is Lamborghini territory. Though Ricciardi did have a slight brake lock up that time around. I'm more interested in Finotti and Lockie, because they're more evenly matched in terms of straight line ability, and Lockie has just got a good exit there as we go onto the straight. So he's going to be slipstreaming him rather down the straight here. Finotti in a Celine, Lockie in a Lister. Sorry, I forgot its name there. And Yusuf Massett catching them as well. So it's a 3-car chain all of a sudden, with a Chrysler just behind them. And now we're about to see the race really hotting up at this stage. Talviti's still not able to challenge Ricciardi just yet. He really needs Ricciardi to make a mistake, and of course Ricciardi did right at the start of this race. He ran wide on the first lap, allowing Miettinen to go through. And if he makes the same mistake again, Talviti will be there and ready to pounce. It was at this corner, and you can see just how much quicker the Celine is through there. But he needs to realistically be right alongside Ricciardi by that point to actually stand a chance, because of the Lamborghini's straight line speed. So into turns 6 and 7 go Finotti and Lockie again. I thought before they were turns 9 and 10, but apparently the corners appear to have had their names rejigged. So that's interesting. I'm not entirely sure why a lot of the S's don't count as corners, but never mind. Now watch use of Masset going for 6th. Masset on the inside of Lockie into the braking zone. Leaves it late. And through he goes. So that's where Lockie tried it. And oh my word, it's almost a replay. Masset's lost it as well. My word, that was exactly how Lockie did it to Finotti a couple of laps ago. It was very much the same thing with Masset going down the inside of Lockie in the same way that Lockie did to Finotti, and then also losing it under acceleration in the same way that Lockie did. Goodness me, that was almost funny, but I'm sure Masset will disagree with me there, and he's going to have to settle for 7th place at this point in time. Still, I wasn't expecting to see that again. Anyway, that was the case, and it's still Finotti from Lockie from Masset in that part of the field. As we're almost 15 minutes into this 1 hour 30 race now. It's almost a Grand Prix length in terms of time, and that means it's going to be about endurance and consistency as much as it is about pace, more so in fact. And of course we are expecting a pit stop from all of these drivers, being as the fuel will most likely not last this entire race distance. Last time out, of course, it was John van der Geest who pitted quite early in the race, and a lot of people were wondering whether he'd two-stop, but he didn't. He went straight on and ended up winning the race after a very chaotic series of events. And that's still on YouTube if you want to go back and watch it. It was a fantastic race, in fact, and I would entirely recommend it. What's second? As Talviti is challenging Ricciardi. Ricciardi got a little bit sideways out of the S's there, and Talviti is going to try and drag his way all the way around the outside of the Lamborghini, and it looks as if he might manage it here. Ricciardi's still on the inside. Remember, these two came together while fighting for the lead at Road America as well, and now we're at Road Atlanta. The very same thing very nearly happened. And Ricciardi's going to have to come back to him in a straight line. This is going to be where he does it because of the V12 engine. Through he goes. And what can Talviti do about him in the braking zone? Nothing much, I'm afraid, as Ricciardi has a slight wheel lockup. And Talviti is going to be getting very frustrated at this point in time, because he has a much harder job than Ricciardi at this point in time. It's a lot easier to pass a car in a straight line than it is through the corners, and Talviti is tasked with doing it through the corners or on the exits, and he knows that if he allows Ricciardi to have a drag race with him in a straight line, Ricciardi will always get ahead. But Talviti hasn't had the best of entries to the S's this time around. This is where he went side by side with Ricciardi last time around, and he can't quite capitalise right at this point in time. Again, Lockie's on the back of Finotti now, so 5th and 6th again closing up as they were before. Still it's close between Lons, Williams and van der Geest. That hasn't changed yet. Although van der Geest getting very close to Williams here. Williams sensing that he's there and going defensive. And no room there for van der Geest just this time around. This has been a thrilling race so far, and we're only 15 minutes in. And now again, Tony Talviti has put himself in a really good position to chase Davide Ricciardi heading on to this next lap. Here come the S's. This is where he's going to be really, really strong. And it's all about what kind of line he can put himself on, and how good at holding on Ricciardi actually is here. So here come the S's. Light twitch from Talviti. Down the hill now, and he's going to get very close to the back of Ricciardi. This is where he tends to gain on him, but no move this time around. Same with Lockie and Finotti as well. Yeah, goodness, this is exciting. And look at Tony Talviti, as he's again on the back of Davide Ricciardi down the straight. But again, can't quite match him. Go into the chicane they go now. And Talviti again has to set up for another lap. He just needs to stick right behind him and wait for Ricciardi to make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes in sim racing, and Ricciardi is guaranteed to not be 100% perfect until the end of the race. Talviti just needs to be slightly better, and in fact Ricciardi won't be very proud of his line through there. Talviti closing in on the back of him, but as I said before, it's so much harder to pass through the corners than it is on a straight, and that's why Ricciardi is really holding off Tony Talviti here, and they're dropping back from the leader as well. Miettinen is getting away, and he's 6 seconds up the road at this point in time. Talviti had a bit of a twitch there and had to brake to avoid losing the rear end, and that's going to put him off the tail of Ricciardi this time around.
Lucky and Finotti.
Yeah, and Lockie and Finotti are very close as well, heading on to the back straight, so we'll see if that changes. Lockie just needs to stick close to Finotti's slipstream. Again, this is for 5th position. And here comes the slipstream for Nathan Lockie. Down the hill and into the corners. And he still stays behind Pablo Finotti, despite the fact that's where he slipstreamed and outbraked his way past a couple of laps ago before spinning up the rears and kicking the car sideways. After the first 20 minutes of this race, it's still Henri Miettinen leading comfortably, and so comfortably we barely mentioned him. In fact, he's being followed by Davide Ricciardi, then Tony Talviti, Phil Brown, Pablo Finotti, Nathan Lockie, Youssef Masset, Laurent Lons, Steph Williams, John van der Geest, and then Johnny Gutierrez, Daryl Kruger, Denis Ishenko, Kimi Martikainen and Nuno Rodriguez. Those are 15 remaining drivers in this race so far, and we still have plenty of racing to come in this event. I believe Talviti just dropped slightly further back from Ricciardi there. He mustn't have had the best exit to that corner. And, good exits though. Nathan Lockie.
Masset is now 10th. He made a mistake, dropped 3 positions.
Oh yeah, he did. He's behind Van der Geest, so indeed I didn't see that happen, but it seems that Masset has dropped 3 places. So that's a shame for Youssef Masset. Currently running 4th in the championship, has now dropped back. One of his main rivals, John van der Geest, has dropped behind him rather, and Laurent Lons as well, who's 5th in the championship, is now ahead of Masset. So plenty of positions up for grabs. We have 1 round left in this championship, remember. That will be next time out. Oh, as Daryl Kruger goes off. That's just before the long straight there. Yeah, as I said, we have just 1 round remaining in this championship after this. This will be at Sebring, which will be round 5, the final round of this championship.
Sebring now making 2 appearances in last rounds for the G.E.A.R racing sim racing series. One for the multi-class, with its last round being in the Sebring Studio 397 circuit, and now being a Sebring Assetto Corsa circuit for the finals.
Again, hello to everyone in the YouTube chat today. Andrew Williams says that Lambo is fast, but Davide let him go. Well, he's actually obliged not to, and to be honest, it's a good job he isn't, because this is providing us with some good racing. Tony Talviti won't like it, but Davide Ricciardi, of course, is fighting for points here, and although Talviti isn't challenging him in the championship, every couple of points helps, and there's no guarantee that Ricciardi won't be able to hold Talviti off for the whole race, including in the pit stop strategy. So, in the pit stop stage rather. So we'll have to see. But yeah, he doesn't need to let him go, even though he is holding up Tony Talviti at this point in time. Zero Bandwidth says, "Oh no, I step away and Rob has DNF'd. Drat." Yeah, unfortunately, Rob Milliken was our first DNF a little while ago. I didn't see quite what happened to him, but unfortunately he has DNF from this race. And still, look at this, Nathan Lockie trying to go around the outside of Pablo Finotti. I just reacted quite late to that because I was looking at YouTube messages. But yeah, Finotti going around having to defend from Nathan Lockie coming around the outside, and does defend for now. Lockie has got pretty close into that braking zone on the last couple of laps actually, so maybe one lap soon he'll pull it off. Yeah, he is very close to the back of Pablo Finotti at this point in time in the battle for fifth place. He'll be feeling pretty gutted at himself, because he knows that if he hadn't lost the rear end earlier on, he might well have had a chance of going up to fourth by now, but he threw it away, and is now having to stick with sixth position until he finds a way past Pablo Finotti, which is proving much easier said than done. Talviti again close to Riccardi, but they're on the back straight. Oh, here comes Lockie again, same braking zone, 3 laps in a row, round the outside. He's still with him there. The second corner is tighter though. But look at that, he's still alongside him on the exit. He's still got the overlap. And Finotti knows he's there. They're going to go side by side down the majority of the straight, I imagine. Finotti gets the better run. Lockie back into the slipstream here. And it's all going to be about the braking zone this time around. Here comes Nathan Lockie, backs off. He sees that Finotti's defending, but Finotti's going to run wide. And he tries to get the switch back. And somehow he doesn't quite get through yet. But as they go over the crest of the hill, oh, that was brave from Lockie, and also from Finotti. Brilliant close racing at this point in time, and still Finotti holds him off. Really good defence from Pablo Finotti to just scare him slightly. Oh, someone's off to the outside there, and I don't know if that was I don't think that was one of our race contenders. I'll just check it. It was Kimi Martikainen in one of the Salines, who's still spinning around trying to get back onto the road. And is really struggling to put the power down there. And Martikainen in 14th place. I think about to get demoted to 15th here by Nuno Rodriguez. Actually, Rodriguez is a lap down on him, so never mind. Oh, and he spins again, in fact, as he gets going. So hits the wall as well. So Kimi Martikainen really struggling here.
Big mistake from Steph Williams right there on the corner exit. Big mistake from Steph Williams on the corner exit after the SS.
Yes, in fact, it's put him behind John van der Geest and Yusuf Massett. So it looks as if Williams did indeed make a big mistake that last time through. And I didn't see it, but he certainly lost a lot of time. As Riccardi goes wide through turn 1, and Talviti gets him. Talviti has finally got past Ricciardi, and that was a move that was long in the making. And Ricciardi just went wide on the entry, got it slightly wrong, and through into second place went Tony Talviti. And he'll be fired up after all of that. Can he go after Henri Miettinen? Two drivers who haven't driven many rounds of this championship at all in first and second place. Miettinen hasn't driven any so far. So onto the back straight they go again, and indeed Talviti has got away from Ricciardi out of that crucial slipstreaming zone. And we all know how crucial it is with that Lamborghini V12 engine. You can see him getting closer, but he's not going to be able to get close enough. That was that for now. So So with just over an hour remaining now, they trigger the timing beam again, and Talviti is already over a second ahead of Davide Ricciardi. He's lapping a Ferrari there, and that Ferrari would have been Daryl Kruger, as Ricciardi does the same thing without incident. Good to see. And now my attention is going to switch onto the battles for P5 and P6 between Finotti and Lockie, and then the nearby battle as well of Lons, Van der Geest and Masset for 7th, 8th and 9th respectively. And Lockie's got a much better exit than Finotti there from the S's. Lockie taking a look to the outside. Same braking zone, and again it's not going to work. Not going to work at all if you try it in the same place again and again, until Finotti makes a really nasty error. But for now, Nathan Lockie has to stick behind the Italian as they go along the back straight.
Look at Masset.
What, sorry?
Masset. Inside of
yes,
John
and Masset up the inside of Van der Geest, as Van der Geest has to go off to avoid Laurent Lons, who'd made a mistake. So Lons had made a mistake, Van der Geest goes off to avoid him. Lons gets back past Van der Geest, and so does Masset. Van der Geest gives way to both of them. He knows he shouldn't have gained the positions. Now what can Van der Geest do about Lons? It was a big shuffle of the order, but now Lons, Masset, Van der Geest is 7th, is the order of 7th, 8th and 9th rather. And as they go through the S's, of course this is Yusuf Masset on his recovery drive after he had an incident earlier off camera, or I think it was off camera anyway. And now they go at it again for 8th, 9th, or for 7th, 8th and 9th positions. 1 hour remaining to go, or remaining rather, in this race. We're half an hour down, so we're a third of the way through. It's going to get even more interesting when the pit stops come into play. The pit stop stages, we expect, will come into play in about probably in about 10 to 20 minutes. So over the crest of the hill comes Pablo Finotti again, still under attack from Nathan Lockie in the Lister. Brown and Finotti are the two highest drivers registered as being on the medium compound tyre. Actually scratch that, because Henri Miettinen is in the lead of the race. They're a real mix of compounds, and they don't appear to be making much difference at this point in time, with quite a few drivers starting on the mediums, quite a few on the hards. And was that a driver that had got out of the way there for Ricciardi, or Finotti and Lockie rather? I think it might well have been. In fact, I think it was Kimi Martikainen, who again is running over the gravel there at the top of the hill. Martikainen struggling a little bit today. But still running around in a lonely 15th position. Less than an hour to go in this race now, and this has been a good start, I think. It's been a very interesting one, and I'm sure we have more of this to come, with plenty of time left, as we've just seen a battle there between Lons and Masset. Lons keeping 7th from Masset into the chicane that time around. John Van der Geest right behind them as well. Oh, as Masset runs wide over the grass, and John Van der Geest goes through on the inside. So Van der Geest up into 8th position now. Masset ran over the grass and dropped down. He would have lost a couple of seconds from that, not just tenths of a second, which is a shame for Yusuf Masset. Andrew Williams says, 10 watching, speak up, who's in here? Yeah, definitely. If you're watching this stream, it would be good to see you comment and let us know what you think of it. I've just seen as well Nathan Lockie again going at Pablo Finotti, attempting to go around the outside in the same place that he did before, and keeps a slight overlap on the exit of the corner. They're going to be neck and neck down the back straight, but again Finotti just edges him out in a straight line, and Lockie's going to have to do it in the braking zone. What can he do here? He was a little bit cautious last time, now he dives for it. And he makes the corner, so Nathan Lockie does get up into 5th place. Pablo Finotti is down to 6th. A good move for Nathan Lockie there to get up into 5th position. As they cross the line, that's confirmed now. There he goes, Nathan Lockie 5th, Pablo Finotti 6th. John van der Geest has also passed Yusuf Massad again. There was a change there. So through the S's again, Miettinen from Talvitie at the front, separated now by over 10 seconds. It's a big lead from Henri Miettinen. I don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, but it's looking very, very good at this stage in the race. Still plenty of it to go though. I think Pablo Finotti is dropping back a little bit from Nathan Lockie here. He's about to gain a tiny bit of time on the straight, I expect. But yeah, did drop back in the early sector of the course. It looks as if the Lister, piloted by Nathan Lockie, is just handling a little bit better than Pablo Finotti's Celine at this point in time. And Lockie's being able to accelerate up the road and away into 5th position for now. Across the line, there he goes. And then as well, it's getting close again between van der Geest and Massad, as Massad might well be about to start another attempt at a recovery drive. He passed van der Geest a couple of laps ago and then made another mistake. And now can he get back at John? Quite possibly, seeing as van der Geest is also being held up slightly by Laurent Lons here. So that gives Massad a chance with the two battling Listers up in front, and they're about to lap a car as well. And that is not a car to lap. That's actually the orange Celine of Pablo Finotti. So down the back straight goes Laurent Lons, still defending from John van der Geest and Yusuf Massad, who couldn't quite benefit from just enough slipstream this time around to get through. Incidentally, Kimi Martikainen has been in the pits for about 4 minutes now. Looks as if his race might well be over, I'm afraid. And that's a shame for Kimi Martikainen. Meaning there are just 14 drivers now remaining left in this race. 18 started it, and I believe we only have 14 drivers remaining at this point in time. And Laurent Lons got a bit of a bad exit to the S's there. John van der Geest is going to be right on his tail, heading up towards the back end of the circuit. The two hairpins, and he's been tagged by Massad. And around goes van der Geest. Massad goes off with him. That's a shame. Yeah, looks as if van der Geest took a look at Lons and Massad didn't expect him to, and panicked slightly and just went into the rear of John van der Geest's car. I'll have a look back at that in a second. But yeah, that was a real shame there as the two of them came to blows. Welcome into to Bill G and Ida Yoteri as well, for tuning in. I hope I pronounced that right. Bill G says, I need to make a brew and grab a mince pie. Oh yeah, 'tis the season to be jolly, I suppose. But there's too much track action. Yes indeed, brilliant race so far. and apparently G.E.A.R is watching for Masset. Well, I'm afraid Masset's just been involved in a little incident there. Looking back at the replay, it appeared that Van der Geest attempted to find a line to the outside of Lons, and Masset was just not expecting him to. Ended up locking up a tyre and going into the back of Van der Geest's car, which is a shame. But anyway, yeah, that's really not good for the championship, because Van der Geest, of course, is second in the championship, and Masset is third. And at the same time, the championship leader, Davide Ricciardi, is running away in third place in this race. And if they were to finish like this, I'm going to work out just how much of a point difference there actually is. Oh, after I've watched Davide Ricciardi lapping Denis Assenko, that is, there he goes, past him cleanly. And Assenko, of course, was a driver who became very popular / unpopular with, well, depending who you asked, during the last race, when he was the last driver to pit, but put up a really good fight on old tyres and low fuel, and ended up really being one of the deciding factors in the race in the end, which was thrilling to watch. Looking at the championship, if Ricciardi was to finish here, he would score 33 points for second. John Van der Geest is about to finish 8th if they finish like this as well, meaning that he would claim 22 points, so that would be an 11-point jump in all of that. And that would mean it would be 17 points between the two of them at the top of the championship. Pablo Finotti, I think, would be a little bit more competitive. He'd score 26 points at this rate, and that would mean he would end up level on points with Van der Geest. So there would be 17 points separating the championship leaders at the end of this race, which is a bit of a gap to make up in just one event coming up. Now, are we about to see our first pit stoppers? Because the timer is ticking down to almost 50 seconds through, or 50 minutes to go rather, and that shows me that it's about the time when we're expecting our first couple of drivers to make pit stops in this race. And that's going to be a factor that really could shuffle up the order, and often does. And I'm expecting some of the drivers who have had spins to pit first to get off their worn tyres. So Van der Geest could be a driver to pit early on, as well as possibly Youssef Masset. And I think that's about it for the drivers we've seen spinning a couple of times. Of course, Van der Geest had one just a couple of laps ago after being punted by Masset. Less than 50 minutes to go in this race now. It's Miettinen from Talviti, Ricciardi, Brown, Finotti, Lockie, Lons, Geest, Van der Geest rather, Masset, Williams, Gutierrez, Assenko, Kruger and Rodriguez. 14 drivers out of 18 starters, and that's their order at this point in the race. And the gap for the lead is 14 seconds, so still Miettinen continues to pull out the gap. He only qualified 4th, remember, but got up into the lead on the very first lap of this race, and has just accelerated away from the rest of the pack at a rate of knots. It's been a very consistent race for him so far. Oh, Masset was catching Van der Geest, but he ran over the grass. Yeah, as I was saying, great race from Miettinen so far. Pablo Finotti, incidentally, has not been allowing Nathan Lockie to get away from him, and is sticking on his tail, but at the same time Laurent Lons has caught both of them. Little twitch there from Pablo Finotti. Lons won't be quite close enough to capitalise, but he's definitely close. And around turn 6 there, gets a miracle. Onto the back straight, into the slipstream goes Lons. slipstreaming all the way down this back straight. The Lister is really good on the brakes, so it's all about how close he can get to Pablo Finotti here. Probably not close enough for a move, but he's definitely setting one up. You often set up moves several laps in advance, and Laurent Lons is doing just that. Oh, a little bit of a twitch coming over the crest, but it's all okay. You can definitely get away with that if you have enough car control. And still no pit stoppers, which is interesting. I've just seen Nathan Lockie there lapping, I think that was Daryl Kruger. It was indeed. And Kruger splits Lockie and Finotti here. So Lockie's getting away a bit. And what can Lons do about Finotti is Finotti possibly has to give a little bit of extra room on the exit of the corner there for Daryl Kruger's Ferrari. Laurent Lons also passes him neatly. So has to take a wider line than usual around turn 6 there. Whoa! The lead gap is now 3.7 seconds. So something really happened to Miettinen in both. I believe it was the end of the first sector that happened last time around, and the lead gap has closed right the way up. Yeah. Okay, so a little bit of drama there, and Talviti is closing up on Miettinen. We'll see if that keeps up or not. I don't think Miettinen pitted. Meanwhile, Phil Brown is pitting. Yeah, Phil Brown pits and is about to get going again. Here's our first actual pit stopper from the front end of the order, I believe. As meanwhile, Finotti locks up slightly and Lons gets right on him there. On the exit of the S's. I really don't think Miettinen pitted there, so he's still going to have to make his pit stop after all of that. So Laurent Lons on the back of Pablo Finotti gets a better exit, I think, gets in the slipstream of the Saleen. As we finish this next lap, Davide Ricciardi pits just as Phil Brown gets going from the pits. Lons is side by side with Finotti. Now what can he do on the brakes? The Lister is so good on the brakes, but he can't keep with him. In fact, he might be slightly too good on the brakes there because he locked up. Now, do any of these guys pit? Yes, Laurent Lons does. Now he's been... What, sorry?
Van der Geest on the pit.
Ah, and John Van der Geest, and that's essential as well, because Van der Geest, of course, trying to keep the championship alive today. Second place in that title fight, does bring it into the pits. It seems like a pit stop will cost you a lap in this race, which could really muddle up the order and possibly bring back Marcus into the mix. Daryl Kruger pits. He's running in 13th out of our 14 remaining drivers. And Henri Miettinen pits from the lead. So into the pits comes our leader, and hopefully this all goes well. Tony Talviti is also in from second, so the leaders are doing a pit stage race. That means Davide Ricciardi will lead this race on track for now. I'll update you on the full order after the pit stages. And as we see, who did he say just pitted? Talviti, yeah, I said that. So into the pits indeed did come Miettinen and Talviti, as well as well, that's it for now. And Nathan Lockie goes through and triggers the timing beam in, I think, second place. Nope, must be first ahead of Pablo Finotti. Indeed it is. That means Lockie leads this race on the road, and out of the pits comes Henri Miettinen. Just ahead is he of Tony Talviti. Talvitie still hasn't got going yet. In fact, Mietinen's already gone, so Talvitie losing time. Talvitie really losing time. Now he puts the power down, and that gap's going to have increased by about 8 seconds maybe. It was 3.9 before they pitted. And we'll see what the actual gap is. But obviously something was different there about the Lister. Or about the Saleen rather. So as the pit stop stages come to a close, Nathan Lockie still hasn't pitted. He stays out this time around, as does Pablo Finotti, who triggers the timing beam in 2nd position. 3rd place coming through is not going to be Yusuf Massett, because Massett pits, as does... Well, Steph Williams is just exiting the pits this time around. Massett triggered the timing beam in 3rd place there, actually ahead of Miettinen. Johnny Gutierrez hasn't stopped yet, he goes through in 4th. Miettinen classified 5th, and it's going to be Talvitie 6th for now, I imagine. But remember, the Miettinen-Talvitie chase is effectively for the lead, and it's now separated by 11 seconds. Or pretty much 11 seconds. So it was very much a... yeah, it was very much a big gain in the pit stop stages there from our effective race leader, Henri Miettinen, from Tony Talvitie, who is effectively in 2nd position. Now, will Nathan Lockie pit this time around? I can imagine he probably will. Almost definitely, in fact. Yusuf Massett certainly did, but... oh yeah, indeed, here we come. Massett actually pitted last lap. Nathan Lockie pits this lap. Pablo Finotti stays out, so Finotti will lead this race for now. Lockie pits. What about Johnny Gutierrez? He's the only other high-placed driver who has not pitted, I think. And he doesn't pit, so he will trigger the timing beam in what is now 3rd place, but will be 2nd, because Lockie pitted it as he pitted. That means that Pablo Finotti now leads this race from Johnny Gutierrez, but only on track, mind you, because in terms of the overall order, it's still definitely Miettinen from Talvitie, with Davide Ricciardi triggering the timing beacon in 3rd position at this stage. Lauren Lons now right on the back of Denis Ishchenko. This is for 9th on the road. And having a good scrap with him, but I believe that Lons has pitted and Ishchenko hasn't. Think so anyway. Yusuf Massett is going to be classified about 10th or 11th in all of this, in fact. Now, what does Pablo Finotti do this time through? He does pit, meaning the only 2 drivers not to have pitted yet are Johnny Gutierrez and the famously late pitter Denis Ishchenko. Gutierrez comes out of the S's. He's just ahead now of Henri Miettinen, and he stays out, so that's going to be interesting. Maybe Miettinen's going to get a bit of traffic here, especially seeing as... oh, never mind. It looks as if Gutierrez has got out of the way for him. He didn't technically need to do that, as Finotti pits. Really, Gutierrez could have held his position and done an Ishchenko, but he decided he wouldn't. Talking of Ishchenko, Lons is slipstreaming him right now. Here we go, down the back straight. And he's going to try out braking him. He's too far back. The hardest car to pass is always the same type as your own. So this Lister versus Lister battle now, with John van der Geest right on the back of them, is going to be a very interesting one, and it's going to require a creative overtake. And van der Geest must absolutely love Ishchenko by now. He always seems to back up van der Geest's opponents right into him. Talking of that, Ishchenko stays out.
Ishchenko being the highlight of this series, pretty much. because of the Watkins
Absolutely,
Glen.
I'd say so.
Round 4, Watkins Glen, he was holding up the first position.
Yeah, but he's completely entitled to do so. It's very cheeky, but he's completely entitled to do so by the rules.
Yep.
And he's doing it again today, showing us exactly why. You know, it's a kind of racist mentality, I suppose. It's an unusual one, but it's very entertaining, and it's great to see.
It's like,
and yeah, look at this, Laurent Lons really being backed straight into Nathan Lockie, rather, not John van der Geest, as I initially said. But
Assetto has a lighter car. Assetto has a lighter car, so he can brake much later, and has more, you know, corner grip. Look at that.
Here comes Lons. Lons still on the inside. Oh, that was close. Lons having to back out of that one. And going for it again on the inside here. There he goes. And I hope that Assetto wasn't intending to pit that time around, because he absolutely blocked the pit entry. And Lockie now, well, taking advantage of it. And does got the inside. Lons left the door wide open there into turn 1. Still, Johnny Gutierrez and Denis Assetto haven't pitted. They're leaving this stint as far as they possibly can. Both on what's registered as the medium compound tyre. I don't know if that's accurate. Yeah, Lockie did get up the inside of Lons into 7th on the road, and now Assetto makes a mistake. Through goes Lockie. Lons wasn't quite so fortunate. Wouldn't it be great if Assetto came straight back at Lockie in the slipstream now? There we go, down the back straight. I think it's much more likely, actually, that Laurent Lons is going to get Denis Assetto into the braking zone. We'll have to see. Still no pit stop from Johnny Gutierrez. Sorry. Oh my word! In fact, they've come to blows. Assetto got sideways over the curb and ended up getting punted by Laurent Lons. And now Assetto pits, so Assetto does come in. But yeah, Denis Assetto, another big round of applause for him, because what a drive he always puts on. What a show, rather, with you know, defending from drivers who really aren't in the same race as him. And maybe that does end up costing him time and positions. I'm sure he really enjoys it nonetheless. Oh, he's just overshot his pit box, had to reverse to get back into it there. But yeah, just thrilling there from Denis Assetto. Still, no stop from Johnny Gutierrez. As I say that, Gutierrez finally pulls into the pits. Amazing that he managed to stay out for that long. He was out on track for almost an hour there. And somehow managed to last the whole time without running out of fuel. And now he pits, and we'll see where he comes out. But that means that Talviti goes back through into second place. The gap between Miettinen and Talviti for the lead is just over 12 seconds at this point in the race, as Gutierrez stops in his box without issue. I'm sure Gutierrez was running a Chrysler last time out, rather. Now he's running a Lister. And the top 3 again is Miettinen, Talviti and Ricciardi, as it was for the majority of the start of the race. It's back in that order now. Meanwhile, John van der Geest has caught back up to Laurent Lons. I thought it was him attacking Lons earlier. It wasn't. It was Nathan Lockie who went through. And now van der Geest has another chance at in positions back. And that really is essential, judging by where his main championship rival is. Davide Ricciardi in 3rd position effectively at the minute. Van der Geest losing a lot of points as it stands. He's been a little bit inconsistent in this series so far. Has Van der Geest, as he's been I think he's had an average result of 4th position, which isn't bad, but it's going to drop significantly after this race, and that is a little bit disappointing from a driver who won the last event from first to 7th, that is. Now at the end of that lap, the order will be sorting itself out. So after the pit stages, Miettinen goes through in first, Talvitie goes through in second, Ricciardi triggers it in third, followed by Brown, Hockey, Lons and Van der Geest, with Lons versus Van der Geest being the closest battle there, I think. Fanotti goes through in 8th, Massett goes through in 9th. We're still waiting for 10th position to trigger the timing beacon this time around. Of course, this is the first time we've seen the order after the pit stop stages, so this is important. It's Steph Williams, the Welsh driver, in 10th place. 11th is going to trigger the timing beacon in a bit, maybe not before Van der Geest had another swipe at Lons. Of course, Van der Geest was attempting to pass Lons before, but unfortunately he got touched from behind by Massett, leading to a spin. So that's the order of this race so far, and 11th place I think is Johnny Gutierrez, followed by Denis Ashenko and Daryl Kruger. So 13 drivers in this race so far, and then out of this race we have Rodriguez, Takainen, Usel, Lackinen and Milliken, I'm afraid. Daryl Kruger is about to get lapped, I think, by Tony Talvitie on the back straight. Should probably get out of the way now before we get to the corners and the braking zones. Kruger, of course, running in 13th place, Talvitie running in 2nd. Not quite getting out of the way there, but I don't think he's quite holding up Talvitie just yet. Over the crest of the hill and through the final corner. Surely now he's going to be getting the blue flags, and he does move over, so through goes Tony Talvitie, nice and cleanly. And well, the next car to find Daryl Kruger will be Davide Ricciardi in 3rd place. Hopefully they'll get through cleanly as well. I don't see any reason why they won't do. Kruger's been letting through drivers cleanly all race long, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Then again, last time I said that, it was about Rob Milliken last time out, and there ended up being contact with the leaders. So maybe I shouldn't have said that just then. John Van der Geest actually has dropped back a little bit from Laurent Lons at this point in the race. He lost about a second, it was 2 seconds in the last sector there, so may have had a little slide or something, and that's where he's lost the time. Still down in 7th place in this race so far, which isn't a position to be sniffed at, but when your main championship rival is 3rd, it's disappointing for John Van der Geest. So less than half an hour remaining in this race now. We're over 2/3 of the way through. But a good time to check the YouTube chat actually. So hello again to everyone watching this stream. And again, yeah, good to see you. Good to see you all here. Andrew Williams says Davide now 1 second behind Tony. I think that was a long time ago because they've separated out a bit, and then he says, "Ah, he's dropped back." Yeah, that was a little while ago. And more discussions going on about last race actually again, and how Denis Assenko was very much the story of the race, getting in on the action and eventually deciding the race winner. Again, yeah, completely legal and really exciting to see. And it depends which drivers you ask as to whether it was a good thing or not. From a spectator's point of view, it was brilliant. So you have to say, although Assenko might be a little bit annoying for some of these drivers, he certainly got spirit, and that has to be admired. And yeah, showing it again today, maybe to a bit of a lesser extent, but yeah, still showing the same sort of spirit. And well, it's not the best sort of racing mindset. It's at least a mindset that wants to race everyone, and it's a very, very interesting thing to see. But whatever the case, the race continues. We have completed 45 laps of this race. In fact, it's quite a short track here at Road Atlanta. I'm expecting us to complete over 60 laps in this race. It's only, of course, a 1 minute 18 lap for the pole time. We should complete about 60 laps on the dot, actually. No, I'm not quite sure on second thoughts, because 22 plus 45, so yeah, it's going to be close. I think we'll miss out by 1 or 2 laps here. Oh no, never mind. Completely ignore me. We're gonna reach 60, easy peasy. Not sure what I was doing with my maths there. And John van der Geest has not been able to catch back up to the rear of Laurent Lons. He was on him a couple of laps ago and then dropped back a little bit, and now just biding his time, possibly waiting for Lons to make a mistake or to wear out his tyres or something along those lines, and maybe he'll come back into play later on in this race. Good to see traffic staying out of the way of the leaders, not getting too involved at the minute, and not causing any issues. Of course, when the blue flags wave, you're required to get out of the way and not get in the way of the leaders, and that's what we've seen everyone doing so far today. Incidentally, I believe we've had a change of position, as Johnny Gutierrez has got past Steph Williams, and quite convincingly as well, and I think Williams may have made an error, and I think it was on the last lap, because I just saw them swap, but I think that happened a little while ago and it's only just updated itself. They certainly seem separated on the track now, but I do remember when Williams was ahead of Gutierrez. This mod, of course, the RSS GT1 mod, a very exciting mod of cars for Assetto Corsa. You have 5 different types of GT1 car. You have the Ferrari, as demonstrated by Henri Miettinen, that's a Ferrari 575. You have a Celine S7, as demonstrated by Tony Talviti. You have a Lamborghini Gallardo, as demonstrated, or is it a Murcielago? I think it's a Murcielago, as demonstrated by Tony Talviti. Yeah, it's a Murcielago, never mind, don't know why I said Gallardo there. As demonstrated by Davide Ricciardi, rather. Then you have the Lister Storm, as demonstrated by Nathan Lockie. And finally you have the Chrysler Viper, which doesn't appear to have worked as well at this track. The top driver in a Chrysler Viper in this race is Youssef Masset in 9th position. He's been having a bit of an up and down race so far, but it's still running in 9th position. He's our only remaining Chrysler. I believe we did have a couple of others at the start of this race, but he's the only one remaining. And showing off that V10 engine to the track. It's the only car with a V10 engine in this car mod.
Oh, and we have 2 types of Ferraris on it.
Yes, we do, but I believe we're only running the 575. I don't see anyone running the 55. What's the other one? whatever the other one is, I don't think we see anyone running it. Yeah, looking at the order, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think we see two different types of Ferrari, but whatever the case, we do definitely have 5 different makes of car. That's for certain, and they all have different types of engine and different, you know, they're all designed to perform differently as well. You saw the Lamborghini absolutely blasting the others in a straight line earlier on today, and you saw the Lister is very fast in the S's, as is the Ferrari. Last time, of course, as well in Watkins Glen, we saw that the Chrysler was incredibly powerful up the hill. I think it has a lot of torque, which helped it in the uphill climb through the S's.
The brilliant race by Yusuf Massit and Watkins Glen, though.
Yes, it was a really strong performance from him. Had a couple of incidents, but it was, you know, he showed a lot of pace. And can't quite remember where Massit finished in the end in that race. I'll just go back and check that quickly. I have a feeling he came third. Indeed he did. It was third place, Yusuf Massit in the end. John van der Geest won that race in the end from Davide Ricciardi, closing up the championship fight with Lockie 4th, and then Philip Pickler 5th, and we don't see Philip Pickler here today, which is a bit of a shame. Pickler, one of the drivers who had made all of the events prior to this race, but hasn't managed to turn up for this particular event, which is a bit of a shame. In terms of the championship, Ricciardi's leading it with 102 points from John van der Geest 96. Then it's Pablo Finotti in 3rd place, Yusuf Massit in 4th place, and then Lauren Lons, Nathan Lockie, Denis Ashenko, Jeroen Remmers, who I don't think is here, Johnny Gutierrez, and Philip Pickler, who is also not here, meaning the championship is going to be really shaken up today with the order that they're finishing here. And I think that definitely the biggest beneficiary is going to be Davide Ricciardi, who's a long way ahead of a lot of his championship contenders here, and gaining several points on them. And heading into the final round of the championship in Sebring, that's going to be crucial. However, it can still turn on its head there. It just needs a dodgy race from some of these guys, and then it's going to completely switch. Massit, meanwhile, is catching Finotti. I'm wondering whether he's going to be within a second of him at the end of the next lap. He gained, I think, about half a second on him in the last lap, so he's gaining at a considerable rate of knots here on Finotti in the Saleen, and that might be a battle to watch there, because Massit's been gaining back for a couple of laps, attempting to get back after his collision with Van der Geest. Fastest lap of this race so far, incidentally, is held by Henri Miettinen at the front of the field. It's a 1:19.436, and that's very, very fast. If someone had come in and set that lap in qualifying, actually it would have only put them 9th, but still it's fast compared to the other laps in this race. Pretty close though with Tony Talviti, although there are no points for fastest lap, so it's just bragging rights you do that for. Although it does feel very, very good when you set the fastest lap of the race, just to be able to tell people you were the fastest on the day, even if it wasn't the fastest consistently. Now up the hill goes Yusuf Massit again, and he didn't quite get within a second of Pablo Finotti that time around, but still managed to take a decent hiccups again, a decent amount of time out of Finotti's Saleen. Took about a tenth out of him there. Not bad. He's got into that zone there, that buffer, where he's struggling to follow Finotti a bit because of the turbulent air created by the car in front. People normally associate turbulent air with single-seaters, but you still get a decent amount in GTs. Sorry?
Massit shaved off a lot of time of from his last lap. He was like 2.5 seconds behind Finotti, now less than a second.
Yeah, well, he gained that about 2 laps ago. In fact, when he gained about half a second in 1 lap, and he's already gained 4 tenths in this lap so far. So he is getting closer, although it takes a slightly wider line through the chicane, which I don't think will help in this circumstance. Out of the final corner, what's the gap this time around? It has come down. His last lap was about 4 tenths of a second quicker than Finotti's, and the gap is much closer than it was between the two of them. In fact, they might have to be careful soon, because at this rate they're going to be lapped by Henri Miettinen before the end of this race. So this battle might end up having to watch their backs a bit, which could really shake it up. But yeah, Miettinen definitely bearing them down in the same lap, or no, a lap ahead rather. Masset's first sector about a tenth slower than Finotti's. 1 down. Gets in the slipstream on the straight. And tries to stick with him. He's using, at the minute, he's using Finotti's car as a windbreak, a wind barrier as they go down this straight here. The air will be much less dense behind Finotti's car, and therefore Massett will have a higher top speed than he normally does, and that's allowed him to get right onto the back of Finotti's car as you go over the crest of the hill. You see the effects there of the slipstream, and he also got a pretty good line around the chicane as well. And at the end of that lap he gained back another tenth of a second, almost 2 tenths. So still he gains, and they're getting precariously close now to being lapped by Henri Miettinen, so that's going to happen in just a couple of laps time, I expect. And maybe Massett can use that to benefit him, and to get past Pablo Finotti in the process. Up to turn 6. And then around turn 7, it's important to get a really good exit here, because if you have a bad exit, it multiplies down this entire straight. And with no braking zones to cut the momentum, you just lose time and lose time. And talking of losing time, watch Pablo Finotti as he comes under attack from Yusuf Massett, who goes to what will be the outside. Massett needs a good braking zone here, but he's overshot it. And through again goes Pablo Finotti. So Finotti stays in 8th position, and Massett actually dropped back in that attempt. He needed to cut to the inside of Finotti. He needed to stick with him closer, but has ended up dropping back quite considerably there, and lost a whole heap of time in all of that. So Massett, yeah, making a bit of a mistake, and dropping back. Andrew Williams has estimated the current on-track standings. This is an estimate, not official, but he says he thinks that Davide will be on 135 points from John's 120 and Pablo's 114. Zero Bandwidth says this might be the battle of the race so far. I don't know about that, because we've had some pretty good ones, but this is definitely a tense fight, with Massett obviously quicker at this stage in the race, but not quite being able to find a way just through there yet. Oh, goes a bit wide. I saw that a little bit delayed, but went a bit wide through turn 6. Down the back straight we go. Mark Hightree, hello Mark, saying great commentary, just joined and I'm enjoying the race. Oh, that's very good to hear, and great to see you here, Mark. Thanks for the compliment about the commentary. Oh, and Bill complimented my commentary too. Jolly good, thanks for that. Go ahead, Matthias.
Just thanking Mark for the compliment.
Yeah, definitely. Very good. Thank you there, Mark. And good to see you in the broadcast today. But at the minute, we have to switch our attention back to Yusuf Masset, who is again attacking Finotti, and again has taken a big chunk of time out of him. His last lap was 4 tenths quicker as he tried to get back onto the tail of Finotti's car, and his first sector has already been 2 tenths quicker. So let's watch him down the straight here as he continues to gain. But look in his mirrors as well. That's Andre Miettinen, our race leader. And will they be getting blue flags soon? That's definitely a possibility. And they have to be careful not to get in the way of the race leader while they're battling. Here comes Masset again. A little bit too far back this time around. And make sure he brakes in time not to run into the back of Finotti's car. But that Ferrari is bearing them down. And while he's not on the same lap as them and won't affect their actual positions, he's going to affect their battle because there will be blue flags waving. Up the hill they go again. Finotti and Masset, followed by Miettinen, who's leading this race. And Masset gets a little bit squirrely over the curb on the inside there. The blue flags will be waving now.
Oh!
Oh my goodness, wow, Masset spun it. And I didn't see quite where that happened, but that would have been a heart-raising moment for our race leader, Andre Miettinen, who gets past him cleanly. But yeah, Masset had a big spin, and that's going to be the end of his battle with Finotti there, as he tipped it sideways through the S's. I'm just going to go back and see just how he did that. He got caught on the curb, and that snapped around so fast as well. You don't normally see cars snapping around quite that quickly, but that was a violent spin for Yusuf Masset there, and around he went. So yeah, that's a weird one there for Masset, but it is a shame because that's going to be the end. Going to be the end of that battle for now, at least, between him and Finotti, and probably the end for good unless Finotti makes another mistake. Right, now this is Finotti about to get lapped by Miettinen. This will probably be clean, hopefully. Finotti actually wants Miettinen to win this race for the championship standings, because if Miettinen finishes ahead of Ricciardi, that's taking points out of Ricciardi. Not taking points out of Ricciardi's lead, but definitely reducing it. And that means that Finotti will want to make this as clean as possible for Andre Miettinen this time around. And through indeed goes Miettinen on the inside. And that was clean and nicely done. So through goes the Ferrari. Miettinen continues to lead with just over 10 minutes of this race to go. Has a little bit of a twitch on the exit there, actually. And Finotti might come back to him, actually, but manages to get out of the slipstream to avoid overtaking him again.
Very good car control from Henry there.
Yeah, definitely. He had a little bit of a twitch, but didn't allow it to be anything more than that. And still keeps the car pointing in the right direction, and continues on in this race. And that means, as we have just under 10 minutes left to go in this race, it's Andre Miettinen still leading from Tony Talviti, Davide Ricciardi, Phil Brown, who we've barely mentioned in this race because he's driven such a lonely race, and then Nathan Lockie, and following him Lons, Van der Geest, Finotti, Gutierrez and Masset. So Gutierrez did manage to get past Masset after Masset's spin. And then it's going to be Williams, Ashenko and Kruger, who make up the 13 drivers remaining in this race. Kruger about to be lapped by Phil Brown, in fact, at the back there. And I hope that's going to be clean. I believe it will be. That a car off there into the S's? No, it isn't. It's just a board I saw on the outside there. So apologies if I scared anyone. Oh, Brown gets a little bit sideways through the chicane, but keeps it on the road. Less than 9 minutes remaining in this race now. Through turn 1 they go. Or through turn 1 Phil Brown goes, rather. I should really specify who I'm watching at this point in time. Although the gap has closed up between Lons and Van der Geest. I didn't notice that happening, but it has done now. In fact, Van der Geest took all 8/10 out of Lons on the last lap. Lons seemed to lose it. He seemed to lose it all in the first sector, so I wonder if there was a mistake from Laurent Lons. Well, there must have been. He lost over a second in the first sector alone. So Lons has made a mistake and has dropped right back to John Van der Geest. And now looks as if he's really struggling in the S's, because Van der Geest was right on him that time through. Up towards turn 6 they go, and Van der Geest will have the slipstream this time around. It's been a long race, but it's coming to a close with Laurent Lons under pressure from John Van der Geest in the other Lister. One of the few Listers in this race. I believe that Lister is the most popular car in this race so far, in this series so far rather. Probably in this race too. Over the crest of the hill they go, with John Van der Geest still chasing Laurent Lons, but lost a bit of... Oh, Phil Brown is on the grass. What's happened to Brown there? Brown is on the grass and he's dropped to 7th. He was running 4th, and out of the final corner he was running along the grass, and I didn't see quite what happened to him, but Lockie is now 4th, Lons is 5th, Van der Geest is 6th. Van der Geest lost a bit of time to... Oh no, he gained more time on Lons on that last lap in fact, so still that battle ensues. But Phil Brown had a big off and is now down into 7th place, and I wasn't expecting that anytime soon. But that's very reminiscent of what happened last race as well, when Brown was running 2nd for a large proportion of the race and ended up disconnecting a couple of laps from the end before he could claim that 2nd place, which is a big shame. But yeah, unfortunately Brown has had another issue, and I don't think we caught on the stream either, but yeah, as the Listers were coming out of the final corner, suddenly they just came across this stopped Ferrari. Zero bandwidth suggests that maybe he lost it coming down the hill onto the back straight. That is almost definitely what happened, but it's just a shame because you know, he was running in a good position and he's lost 3 places this late in the race as well.
That might be the case for Brown, because there's a big bump there, and yeah, depending on how fast you're going, you're gonna get airborne.
Yeah, definitely. There's a big crest in the hill there. And I've seen some of the Listers especially having to brake over that bump. It's a really treacherous one, and Brown must have just got it wrong and got the car unsettled. But yeah, very disappointing this late on in the race, as we have just over 5 minutes to go now, with Van der Geest still attempting to take time out of Lons. He lost about 1/10 of a second in the opening sector. His 2nd sector isn't normally as quick. I think Lons' setup is just...
We'll have an accident. We have a Kruger just spinning on the 10-6.
Anyone else involved?
No.
Okay, yeah, I see Kruger going again there again. He's just been passed by Pablo Finotti. That's not for position. Finotti is a couple of laps ahead. But yeah, Daryl Kruger just having a little spin there, hopefully all by himself. And he continues on his way. The gap between Lons and Van der Geest came out on that lap by 4/10. So it's remaining steady at anywhere between 0.8 of a second and 1.2 seconds. And really it's going to take a mistake from Lons to give the place to Van der Geest at this stage in the race. In fact, it's close as well between Johnny Gutierrez and Yusuf Massett, with Massett recovering after a variety of different incidents. Of course, we saw him getting hooked on the curb just a couple of laps ago and spinning out of a battle with Pablo Finotti. And now Found himself just behind Johnny Gutierrez, attempting to take the place back from the driver who pitted far later than anyone else in this race, Johnny Gutierrez. Meaning Gutierrez will have been on very fresh tyres throughout this whole second stint, and will be now as well. But Yusuf Massett still catching him and hounding him down. He's already gained, well actually he's lost about a net tenth on him so far in this lap. We'll see if that stayed true after the final sector. Yeah, in fact lost a little bit of time to him on that last lap there. And with just a couple of laps to go, he needs to get a little bit of a move on if he's gonna take this place. Van der Geest and Lons came down by 7 tenths, so that really pulled in. And Van der Geest is now right on the back of Lons again, but Lons, oh well, Van der Geest didn't get the best of exits to turn 7 there onto the back straight. Lons looks like he's going to have the legs on the straight this time around. He also has a distant tow from Denis Ischenko there, who's about to get lapped. Into the chicane again they go. I think the more immediate danger is Massett versus Gutierrez, and they're about to be lapped as well in that battle, as just behind them I see that Pablo. It's not Pablo Finotti. Must be. Not quite sure who that is. Who's about to? Who's just behind them there? It's not Steph Williams. I think it's Daryl Kruger, in fact, who they must have just lapped. And Tony Talviti's in there as well. Yeah, indeed, it is Tony Talviti who's second in this race, and also Daryl Kruger, who they've just lapped. Henri Miettinen is on his penultimate lap of the race. The next lap rather, will be the final lap of this race. He's just lapped Phil Brown, in fact, so that shows you just how dominant Miettinen's been in this race. He's lapped everyone but the top 6. Been a great race from Henri Miettinen, and he's now on the same straight as John Van der Geest. He might lap, well, he won't lap Van der Geest unless there's a mistake, but yeah, getting very close. Maybe a couple more laps and he would have lapped John Van der Geest, his main championship rival. And I wouldn't have that rubbed salt into the wounds for John there. Oh, I don't mean his main championship rival, I mean Ricciardi's main championship rival, sorry. Yeah, Miettinen actually driving his first race in the championship today.
John Van der Geest is pushing his car to the absolute limit.
Absolutely he is, as Henri Miettinen starts the final lap of this race. But as you said, John Van der Geest just took 8 tenths of a second out of Laurent Lons. This is a last lap push for that 5th position there. Well, actually, he's going to have one more lap after this, providing they don't get lapped this time around. So, heading up towards turn 6, not going to be close enough this time around, but he really is pushing his car to his absolute limit. Lons possibly struggling a bit for tyre life at this late stage in the race. A little bit of understeer there from Van der Geest as well. But this is what it all comes down to now. They've got a car to lap a couple of cars ahead as well, a couple of hits ahead as well. I think that's Denis Ischenko. It is. But as we come into the final sector now, this is all about Henri Miettinen. After over an hour and a half of racing, Miettinen has really controlled the pace. He only qualified 4th, but he got through to the lead after a stellar start and has just accelerated away from the rest of the pack from then on. Over the crest of the hill, Henri Miettinen in the Ferrari is going to win at Road Atlanta. There he goes, crosses the line, fastest lap and a race victory. Henri Miettinen has won it. Second place is going to go the way of Tony Talviti, who won at Road America. Tony Talviti crosses the finish line and wins, and that's 4 different winners from 4 different races in this championship. It really has been a mixed championship. It's been anyone's game, and I can't wait to see if we get 5 different winners from 5 different races at the final round. That would be brilliant. Davide Ricciardi is coming through the final corner now to claim 3rd position in the Lamborghini. There he goes. 4th is going to go the way of Nathan Lockie, but let's also keep an eye on who will come out on top out of Van der Geest and Lons, with Van der Geest in the slipstream of Lons, heading towards the braking zone at the chicane. I think Lons has just got it, unless he makes a mistake here. And he gets it turned into the corner nicely. Nathan Lockie claims 4th, and it's going to be just Laurent Lons who holds on from John Van der Geest for 5th position here. Van der Geest hasn't looked very strong at this track. There he goes. Lons from Van der Geest. And Phil Brown disconnected. Now, did he finish?
He did.
Or did he disconnect before he crossed the line?
He finished and then disconnected.
Yes, phew. Well, he did finish, so Brown was 7th. And then it was Pablo Finotti, Johnny Gutierrez, Yusuf Masset, Steph Williams, Denis Ashenko, and Daryl Kruger in 13th position. That is the finishing order, and that is the end of the race. We had a couple of retirements as well. Nuno Rodriguez, Kimi Martikainen, Can Yusel, that's Jari Lakkinen in 17th, and Rob Milliken out of our 18 starters. So unfortunately we did have a few people that didn't finish, but out of the people who did finish, what a thrilling race that was there. Fantastic all the way through, always something to talk about, and right the way to the line as well. The battle between Laurent and John there, providing excitement, and the championship as well. You can't get much closer and much more unpredictable than this. Admittedly, Ricciardi has pulled out quite a few points into his championship lead now from Van der Geest. However, 4 different winners from 4 different races is nothing to be sniffed at, and it shows just what a fantastic series this is, and just what fantastic cars these are to race. No one has dominated. There may have been convincing winners from individual races, but no one has dominated this championship so far. And I tell you what, tuning in for this race in 2 weeks' time at Sebring is going to be well worth it. So make sure you don't miss that. Thanks to everyone for joining us in the YouTube channel today. We had quite a few viewers here today, actually, more than we used to. Thanks to Andrew and Zero Bandwidth there for the nice comments about the commentary. Thank you very much, and thank you also for joining in with us today. And thank you to Matheus Marçal for streaming and for pointing out various different incidents and overtakes. So thank you there, Matheus. I've been your commentator, Joshua Penny, and I believe that will be the end of this week's broadcast. So again, thanks whoever joined us, and we will see you all in 2 weeks' time at Sebring for the championship finale. See you then.
Bye bye.